Acknowledge God in all our ways. Main scripture. Proverbs chapter 3 verse 6. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight. Even when Jesus acknowledged God, when Jesus was arrested by the priests, a companion of his drew a sword and cut off the ear of the high priest's servant. Matthew chapter 26 verse 51. However, Jesus directed him to put down the sword and not to inflict further harm. Matthew chapter 26 verse 52. Matthew chapter 26 verses 53 to 54. Do you think I cannot call on my Father, and He will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels? But how then would the scriptures be fulfilled that say it must happen in this way? Despite possessing the power to resist arrest, Jesus willingly accepted his arrest as part of God's providential plan and chose not to oppose it. This was to ensure the fulfillment of the prophecy regarding his crucifixion. Isaiah chapter 53 verses 1 to 6. In light of this, shouldn't we too acknowledge God's presence in everything, even in events that cause us trouble and suffering? The church door closed under God's permission. It is essential to remember God's law and to keep His commands in our hearts. Proverbs chapter 3 verses 1 to 3. Then we will win favor and a good name in the sight of both God and man. Proverbs chapter 3 verse 4. This is the conclusion of the matter. In all your ways acknowledge Him. Proverbs chapter 3 verse 6. This means that everything occurring in our lives is under God's permission. Everything, without exception, is under His control. Our sufferings, including the closure of the temple door, also happened with God's intention. Why does He decide to close the church? It is attributed to the unacceptable worship we had offered Him. Malachi chapter 1 verses 7 to 10. What constitutes acceptable worship? It involves presenting offerings that are free from any defect. Leviticus chapter 22 verses 21 to 23. The consequence of disobedience. The regulations concerning offerings are among the lesser commandments of God. If disregarding these lesser laws results in God closing the church, imagine the consequences of breaking His greater laws. God pours out curses to those who disobey His word, intended to guide them back to the path of obedience. Leviticus chapter 26 verse 21. Leviticus chapter 26 verse 29. You will eat the flesh of your sons and the flesh of your daughters. This shocking prophecy was fulfilled during the downfall of the northern kingdom of Israel and the Jewish kingdom. God declared that their continual transgression would lead to their destruction, thereby allowing the land to have a rest. Leviticus chapter 26, verse 34. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 17. They sacrificed to demons, which are not God. Gods they had not known. Gods that recently appeared. Gods your fathers did not fear. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 29. If only they were wise and would understand this and discern what their end will be. When facing sufferings, instead of attributing them to external factors, we must reflect and assess if our worship to God has been acceptable. The difficulties we encounter in life arise from our worship being unacceptable. The Israelites serve as an example. The curses they endured resulted from their worship being offered to demons, not to God. Conclusion. However, Even in the midst of suffering, due to our unacceptable worship, we should not despair, as God has promised restoration when we return to the path of obedience. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verses 1 to 6.